Howdy y'all, welcome back to Luke's Homebrew. Today, I am going over my latest game of Diplomacy. I actually just played it on playdiplomacy.com. It's my first online game. I've been playing tabletop version for the last couple years now. But I know it's a very unpopular game, and that's why I figured it was a good little niche to get into. So, in this game, if you don't already know the rules, there's 7 different countries, and they all battle it out. It's set just before World War I, and whoever gets up to 18 centers wins the game. And or you can make an alliance with various different countries and win the game that way by proposing a draw. Now, to get into this game, I was selected to be Austria. It was a random ballot, and that was the one I got. That's that pink little guy right in the middle. Now, it's a decent position to be in because you have access to a lot of free centers in the Balkans like Romania and Serbia. And as you can see, that's exactly what I did on my first set of moves. Is I went ahead and moved Budapest down to Serbia. I moved Trieste down to Albania. I had just finished talking with Italy at that point and said, hey, usually an Italian-Austrian alliance is really good for the both of us. Tell you what, I will go ahead and move down. I'll take Serbia and I'll take Greece. If you can go ahead and support me with one of your fleets, 2 of us together, we can take out Turkey. And he said, that's cool. Sounds good. And I laid out a whole plan to him, made sure to talk to him about, hey, as soon as I'm able to take Constantinople, you can take back Greece, because that should be an Italian center. So that's what we agreed upon. And we went ahead and went along with those moves. I went ahead and moved Budapest down to Serbia, Trieste down to Albania, and then Vienna down to Budapest, because I was planning on taking Romania at the same time. Now, at the same point in time, I had talked to Turkey. Turkey made it pretty clear that he wanted to team up with me and go ahead and attack Italy, but that didn't really make any sense because, I'm right in the middle of them. And I had just finished talking to Russia at the same time, and they said, hey, Turkey just asked me to join forces with them and attack you, which immediately I already knew that in my head, so I was like, okay, well, how can I play this? So that's why I decided to move Vienna to Budapest. And I had a lot of trust in Italy that he wasn't going to backstab me. I definitely left myself open for him to backstab me. Thankfully, he didn't at that point in time. And talked to Russia and was like, hey, how do you feel about joining me in Italy? You'd be third man, and honestly, you're in one of the better positions to be able to help take out Turkey. We can split up the squares evenly, and then call it a happy day and go from there. He said, absolutely, that sounds better than teaming up with Turkey, especially if you and Italy are going after him. So we all agreed. I did those moves, and then the next turn, from Budapest, I asked Russia, hey, would you be willing to just support me in Romania? That way I don't get bounced. You can take it back at the, once we're done conquering Turkey, I'm chill with that. And then I proceeded to go ahead and move Serbia down. Serbia actually held, and it supported Greece, while Turkey tried to take Greece. Italy at this point ferried a army to Tunis, and then stayed in the Ionian. Venice stayed put. I'm very happy with how that's all going. Up north, everything's going pretty well for Russia. He's keeping an army in Warsaw and Ukraine, so I'm getting a little nervous about that. Germany has Denmark and has now taken Holland and is creating a good wall to defend himself against an incoming French attack or English-French attack, because as you can see, that English fleet in the North Sea tried to attack Denmark. So at that point, the game's going pretty well. A couple just standard moves as we just keep going. It is at this point that France actually texted me. It was his first game playing, and I thought I understood the rules, but apparently I didn't. And you have to have an army in a square at the end of the fall term in order to capture it. I told him that, not knowing it would screw him over. So that's why he moved his army out of Spain into Portugal. He still got the 1 star, but he was expecting 2. So that's the only really notable piece of information right there. But this is now at the end of fall, and I got to go ahead and build. So thankfully, Italy didn't betray me, because I left myself open for that. But I was able to snag 3 of the Balkan centers. I was completely set up to take Bulgaria, and I was able to build in all 3 of my centers. I told Italy, hey, I don't want to conflict with you, so out of trust, I'm going to build an army in Trieste. And I mean, it works better for me because I'm more of an army power. I only got 1 port. I already have my 1 fleet. I'll just stick in the Adriatic eventually. And for Italy, I thought that was a good trade because a ground invasion on Italy is very, very hard coming from the north. You really need fleet support in order to take it, unless they're just a terrible player. But everyone got to go ahead and build. Nothing too crazy there. Then we go ahead and skip ahead to the next term, where at this point, I wasn't expecting it at all, because at this point, Italy and I showed a lot of trust to each other. He didn't snag Trieste or Vienna like he could have in the previous year. And so I trusted that and had Romania support Serbia to Bulgaria. I went ahead and took that center. However, Turkey and Italy spoke, and Bulgaria moved down to Greece. Makes sense. Went ahead and took that. I ended up losing that center, and you can also see that Italy tried to stab me and take Trieste. Thankfully, I was able to hold on to it that turn. We go ahead and start moving on to our next couple moves, and at this point, I'm trying to make reparations with Italy, like, hey, I can support you into Greece, and he's like, yeah, that's cool, I'll take that. So then he goes ahead and accepts my support. He takes Greece, and then knocks out that 1 army from Turkey, and now we're looking at a very different board where Italy now controls the Greek peninsula. Turkey still has Bulgaria now. I'm pushed back closer to my home centers, but we're still not doing terrible. This whole time, Russia hasn't been doing much other than just bouncing Turkey out of the Black Sea, which I'm very thankful for, because otherwise I would have lost Romania and Turkey would have been able to break out of his corner. We keep on going, and we go ahead and see that I'm now building in Vienna. I'm expecting an attack from Italy at this point because he's already backstabbed me twice. And at this point, I go ahead and talk to Russia and say, hey, you two have been bouncing at the Black Sea forever. I'm down on troops. I don't know how long I can hold out against this force. So what we need to do is we need to work together right now, unless you don't want me to be your ally. And he's like, well, sure. I mean, I could go ahead and take you, but Turkey would be a little bit easier. And then I'm guessing probably in the back of his head, he's debating whether or not to stab me after that while I'm weak, after gaining the stars from Turkey. It's a win-win for him. So he goes ahead and we discuss, well, you two have been bouncing out of the Black Sea for a while now. How about instead of doing that, you move your fleet in Sevastopol down to Armenia. He's expecting to bounce you, so he's going to land in the Black Sea, which isn't good for us. However, this is the spring term. In the fall, that's when you build or disband troops. And he isn't going to be able to hold Ankara unless he tries to bounce you there. So go ahead and start cycling your armies down. He's going to try and bounce you at Ankara during the fall to protect his stars, because otherwise then he starts falling behind. He sees the armies going. And at that point, you snag the Black Sea out from under him, and he can't get it back. And that's exactly what we did. In that turn, I ended up getting stabbed by Italy again, and at this point we're at full frontal war. However, this was the one unfortunate mistake that he made. I poured over this for hours because I probably should have lost the game, and Italy was in a very good position to win. So to put this in perspective, I asked France to help me and help take out Italy. And he said, sure, Luke, that sounds like a fair trade. I'm kind of at a wall with Germany. And at this point, I believe it's when England decided to surrender the game. So he was now down an ally and wasn't really making any ground. So I'm like, hey, I'm being attacked. How about you just go ahead and support me into Venice, and then I'll support you into Rome and Naples. Sounds good for everyone. He decides to move into Piedmont, which gets my hopes up. And I thought that turn he was going to support Trieste into Venice. I was expecting to lose Trieste regardless. However, what ended up happening was he attacked Tyrolia, which I was using to support my attack on Venice. I was hoping for his support, that way we could definitely take it. Otherwise, I would have been able to just keep Trieste. Instead, he attacked Tyrolia, and Italy made his fatal error, which I believe cost him the game, is he moved Fleet Albania to Trieste. Had he supported from Albania and supported from the Adriatic for Venice to move into Trieste, and Apulia move up to Venice, then he would have had an army within my land, and he would have been able to easily snag Vienna or Budapest and get a much better foothold. And you're going to see that as a recurrent pattern, is that fleet ends up getting stuck in Trieste for probably, I'd say, 4 or 5 years. And he isn't able to make any ground because he can't back it out without losing ground. And he really just can't do much against my defensive position and that fleet just being stuck there. He needed to get that army into Trieste, and he didn't, which allowed me the opportunity to continue to talk now with my really only 2 allies. I have Russia at my back, who has agreed to help me, and then Germany, who we've signed an armistice. We're fighting our own wars. It's not worth it to start a 3rd war, because he's fighting England and France. England is playing very poorly, in my opinion, and France is putting up a good fight but isn't able to grow, so he's been stalling out, and it's just a tactical battle between the two of them as they're just duking it out. While Germany is also talking to Russia, saying, hey, if you go ahead and start taking English troops out, you might be able to play the long game, and eventually we can take France out. You'll be able to loop around. So at this point, you can see that the 3 Emperors alliance is already forming, because Austria is fighting Italy and Turkey, so those 2 allies are done. France is on the other side of the board and has already attacked me and supported Italy, so I know that's a no-go. And England is even farther across the board and is fighting Russia and Germany, which, I mean, I couldn't help them even if I wanted to, and they couldn't help me even if they wanted to. So right now it's looking like 4 countries allied against 3. And it's not looking very good, at least on the Austrian front. The German front is doing okay, and the Russian front is looking very good and set up for a total collapse of the 2 North and South powers, England and Turkey. So we continue to watch. There's a whole bunch of staging between France and Germany. I continue to try and maintain my land and take some back. It's a lot of holding patterns. And then eventually it is spring, and France makes a very good, surprising move. It surprised all of us. France was able to take Belgium from Germany, which was very good for him. However, he made the mistake of doing it in the spring, and he wasn't able to build a new troop. Had he been able to build the new troop, things would have looked very different. But because he wasn't able to, what this ended up doing was it made me and Germany very worried, at least for the next day, until we were able to get moves in. But I was already failing on my fronts. I was getting pushed back to the brink. I was barely holding on to my positions. Like I said, if Trieste was taken with an army, that would have been it. This alliance wouldn't have happened, and I think Italy would have been in a very good position to solo. But with France taking Belgium, he was in a really good tactical position, could actually start making ground into Germany. But because he took it in the spring, he wasn't able to do anything. Or build a new troop. Now, another point of interest is at this point we had a new English player because the previous one surrendered. And honestly, he came into a very poor position because one, Russia was looking very angry and willing to take his centers because Russia fucks with the war. And Germany had a fleet in the North Sea, and England wasn't helping him at all. So at this point, England had talked to me, had talked to Germany, and said, hey, I'm not really a big fan of France. I would like to be able to build and grow a little bit this game. And Germany said, sure. And you're going to be able to see these moves where Germany goes ahead and convinces England, hey, he just took Belgium from me. How about you help me take the English Channel? Or I'll help you into the English Channel, and then you can snag Brest, which is all well and good. So that's what ends up happening. Germany goes ahead and helps that. I'm holding my borders. I actually managed to snag Bulgaria with Serbia. It was a very risky move for me, at least at that point in time. But it was, I need to go balls to the wall or I'm going to lose. So that's when I moved Serbia to Bulgaria. And then the next turn, I was planning on moving Romania back to Serbia. And then at that point, I could pretty much block in Turkey, prevent them from getting out and escaping the Russian just hand coming in for them. And I was in a better position to take on Italy and be able to build. It's at this point Italy made his second fatal error. He should have moved Greece up to Serbia. And what that would have done is he would have stolen that and then had access to another one of my home centers and been able to really deal some damage. And honestly, there wasn't anything that I could do to threaten Greece unless possibly he didn't trust Turkey to not take it from behind him. I don't know. But I ended up taking Bulgaria. I managed to hold on to Serbia, which led to an ultimately fatal error for Italy once again. Then on the German Franco front, Germany, now in the fall, very angry with France for being able to take Belgium from him, has now decided, I'm just going to go balls to the wall. Convinced England, hey, I'll let you into the North Sea and I'll support you into the English Channel, which is all well and good. He goes ahead and gets Belgium back and he takes Burgundy, which is the ultimate crushing blow to France. There's nothing France can do after that point. He has to retreat 2 armies, and I believe he went ahead and retreated to Paris and Picardy. He was expecting for Germany to go down to Gascony and take Spain, which is exactly what he did because it's entirely worth it. At which point we both get to build one. England is happy because he's in the North Sea, and now he has good mutual trust with Germany and feels like he's actually growing in the game, which is when Germany convinces him, hey, let's take the English Channel, I'll support you into that. But at the same time, he goes ahead and talks to Russia, and Russia actually gets land in Clyde, which is now leaving Liverpool completely undefended. It was a very big brain play by the two of them, and they managed to get it. Marsalis attacked Burgundy, and Paris and Picardy supported, which then forced the German troop to then retreat to Gascony, and so on and so forth. He was expecting that. I believe he attacked Paris, and then when the retreat was forced, he just went to Gascony, which ideally is one of the best positions he can be in because it touches 4 French centers. On my front, however, I managed to do another big play, really kind of big brain Italy. I kind of just made a balls to the wall move. I went ahead and moved Tyrolia down to Venice and somehow got in. And Vienna just randomly to Trieste. It bounced. I wasn't expecting to get it. But I got Venice, which allowed me another build, which you're going to be able to see I wasn't able to take advantage of because all my home centers were stocked up with troops. Which point I moved Romania down to Serbia. At this point, Turkey is looking about dead. Russia has Armenia, and he just took Ankara. And at this point, there's not much Turkey can do. And at this point, Italy is now losing his war against me after that second fatal blow. So we go ahead and continue. We see all the pieces kind of shift and move again. And now I'm talking to myself, okay, so I have Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia. All I need is Greece, then I have all the Balkans. I'm not going to be able to hold Venice. There's no way I can do that, especially if France decides to go ahead and attack me as well. So, you know what? I'll just retreat to Trieste. I'll go ahead and reclaim my home center, support it with Budapest, Vienna. Perfect. And I go, you know what? I know Russia's going to be able to kill Turkey right now. I think Constantinople is just going to support Smyrna. And for whatever reason, I think he just went balls to the wall and was like, let's see if it works. And decided to have Constantinople move to Bulgaria and Smyrna to the Aegean Sea for some reason. I think he just gave up. Well, what that ended up doing was I moved Bulgaria down to Greece, and he ended up landing in Bulgaria, which was very bad for me. I was able to take Greece, so I maintained centers, but now he's still alive. It's kind of a nuisance. Now I have to rearrange all my troops, but I've pretty much won the war against Italy, and at this point, France is mere moments away from falling. Russia takes Liverpool, and we go ahead and just cycle through the turns. I go ahead and have Russia support me into taking Bulgaria again, and then Italy moves up to Tyrolia for a brief period of time. Things are looking pretty good. I'm looking at killing the army in Albania right there. I go ahead and destroy that. No, actually, I lied. Albania actually moves up to Trieste with support from Venice and Tyrolia, which was a pretty impressive move, but it wasn't anything to save him. I had to go ahead and retreat Trieste back to Budapest. Now he's starting to make some ground. He learned his lesson, especially after I sent into the public press, hey, homie, maybe you should have put an army in Trieste. I would have died a long time ago. But he goes ahead and gets that army in there. I have Russia support me in Bulgaria, and now I'm ready to turn all my tanks westward and say, fuck you, Italy. So that's exactly what I did. I turned around. I went ahead and attacked Tyrolia and Trieste. I managed to get both impressively. However, I ended up losing Vienna in the process, just out of sheer dumb luck. But it doesn't really matter all too much because he goes ahead and takes that. I hold on to Trieste. I go ahead and get Albania back. I destroy that army. And now Italy is reduced to 5 centers again. He goes ahead and takes Vienna. He gets to build. And at this point, we're just duking it out. I talk to Russia and Germany. Everyone at this point is talking about just let's end the game. England's already dead. France is on his 3 stars, and England can very easily take him out. So I just go ahead and talk to Russia and Germany like, hey, we're very close to ending the game. Let's just go ahead. Can you guys move into Galicia and Bohemia and just support me in taking Vienna? That way I can take back Venice. So they go ahead and do that. I go ahead and take Venice as well. And at this point, Italy and France have pretty much surrendered. I think it was the turn after this where they officially surrendered. And it's just a very quick cleanup. We wanted the map to look pretty, so we all just talked for a couple turns. And we're just like, hey, let's get rid of these stray colors in our territory. And we did that for about 2 turns as we were just cleaning up, taking care of Italy and France finally. And then all of a sudden, I tried to take back Galicia because that was my home area. And for whatever reason, Warsaw supported the Russian army in Galicia, which was really weird and confusing. So I was like, you know what? I'm not putting up with that. All of us want to end the game. Why are you stalling it? He was definitely in a position to solo had he wanted to. However, he was also in a very weak position now that Italy and France have been dealt with and we were able to cycle our armies back in defense of Russia maybe attacking us. So we go ahead I go ahead and attack Sevastopol. I land in there and I try and take Galicia back again. He holds it again. And at this point, I'm just so confused. Why are you holding on to the game? We go ahead and text each other, and he's like, oh, it's just a misunderstanding. So I go, all right, I'm going to move into Galicia, and I'm going to move out of Sevastopol. We all have our home centers. We're all happy. No stray colors. And that is what the end of the board looks like. I control Constantinople as well as all of Balkans and Italy. Germany controls all of France, Spain, and Portugal. And then Russia, the behemoth, controls most of Turkey, all of Scandinavia, all of England, and Tunisia. And that was the game we played on playdiplomacy.com. If you enjoyed yourself listening to this random babble and board game talk, please go ahead and leave a like down below. It really shows me to make more of this content if you like it. And if you want to, the link to the game will be down in the description. And I'll catch you next time. Thank you very much for watching this far in. Have a good one. Bye.